Hello. Hi there. Welcome to the Leapwing audio booth here at NAMM 2019. We're here with Piper Payne from Nito Mastering in Oakland. She's an amazing mastering engineer. We've known each other. It's 10 years. And yeah, she recently reviewed our plugin, our last plugin, also the previous one, and Resolution Magazine. Thanks for that. And we're here to ask her some questions, so if anybody in the audience wants to ask any questions, just let us know. I'll start off with one, if that's okay. Out of our plugins, especially in mastering situation, what is, in your opinion, the most unique feature in one of them that you hadn't available before, that you started using now that you think it's available?
I shouldn't give a mastering engineer a microphone. You know that, right? The new Stage 1 plugin, having the ability to have that sort of little bit wider mono. So if for instance the kick drum or the vocal is just too small, being able to open it up just a little bit during the choruses is really fun, and that's not something that any other plugin has been able to do for me. Additionally, when the first plugin that I ever tried out from you guys, Center One, that did the stereo processing better than any other plugin had so far. I mean, there's lots of plugins out there that do width, there's lots of plugins that do depth, but that one together, and having the ability to do parallel processing on the mono or on the stereo channels, it was amazing, really.
Thank you. And then let's maybe talk about Dyne One maybe. In what kind of situation would you reach out for it in mastering? Like when you have a certain specific problem, like what would that problem be, and how would you go for it?
So a lot of mastering issues that we have nowadays is when mixers are mixing their tracks really, really loud, and there are a lot of tools out there to help them do that. But when it comes to mastering, if we have a mix that's way too loud, you can't make it that much bigger. You can't make it that much louder with a standard compressor or a standard EQ or a standard dynamic process. It's having the ability to use a parallel process really, really helps, because then you can get a lot of the detail that you are missing in the mix without over-inflating the overall loudness or introducing distortion. And the Dyne One plugin does that really, really well. A parallel dynamic EQ is something that no one else has been able to do so far, so I like it a lot. I use it a lot. And when you need it, when you need some of these Leapwing plugins, you're in trouble, because there's nothing else that's going to make them better than that. So
awesome, thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? Anything you want to ask Piper?
I'm trying to think of a question.
Okay.
I'll let someone else.
Anybody? Yeah.
I know you're a mastering engineer, so it may be a bad question, but have you ever used one of the plugins in a very crazy way that you're like, let's put it to the extreme, and did it come out like you expected, or like, wow, this effect is just, I've never heard this? In what situation?
There was a metal band that I was working on pretty recently, that the record was just, I mean, it sounded good, it had the energy, it had the performance, the band was awesome, but the mixes were just so lifeless and small, and at the same time they were slammed to the top, and I just couldn't do anything to bring out some good dynamic transitions especially. So what I did was I took the Dyne One and I automated it for the sections of the songs, and it got into really heavy territory that mastering engineers, we hate to go into, is automating transitional elements of the track, but sometimes you have to do that. And so what I did was I took that totally to the extreme, and then I also used the Center One plugin to kind of inflate the stereo image on the choruses especially, and it really, the mixer came back and was like, I didn't realize that there was that much program dynamics in my song, and I'm like, yeah, totally there was totally lots of work. It was great, no problem. Because there's a lot of things that we have to do. We can't tell the artist, we can't tell the mixer, unfortunately. And it's not anything that we're doing to introduce something that's not true about the song. It's just that as mastering engineers, we know where the artist or the mixer is trying to go, because we work on music like that all day, every day. So we know what it's supposed to be, and we know what we have. And if we don't have the tools to help us get there, we're in big trouble, because then somebody else will take it there, or the artist isn't going to be happy at the end of the day. So I'm always prepared to use whatever tools I have at my disposal to give the artist what they need and give the song what it needs. But that was one recent that I went totally overboard, and it turned out really great. Could have been terrible. I mean, we always go way too far and then walk it back a little bit, because it's like azimuth on a tape machine, right? Like you got to go past 0 and then come back. So having the ability to do that and do it in a way that nobody really knew what I had done, but they were happy at the end of the day, that's what's really important.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else? Chris, one of my clients.
Okay. So with the new rules with Spotify on loudness, and maybe you touched on this before, are you finding that more and more bands are becoming aware of that and sending you quieter stuff, or are they just still sending you super loud mixes all the time?
So our bands understanding how loud it's supposed to be and not actually going overboard. Chris, I think you're one of my only clients that does that properly. It's hard, like you want to be bigger, better, louder, faster, stronger than all the other bands, because that'll help you get noticed, right? But it's a misnomer to think that if you make a mix or you make a master really, really loud, that it's going to be really, really loud on those streaming channels and on CD and radio and all that. Because what happens is radio especially has compression and limiting that will actually kick your mix or your master down in level, so you're not quite as loud as everybody else. And then most of the streaming platforms now have what's called sound check, so you have to hit a target level, otherwise they will turn it down and it'll end up feeling smaller and further away than the other things that it's mixed in with. And so no matter how loud you make it, they're always going to turn it down. And if you hit that target right on, it's gonna sound big and beautiful and clean. But no, it hasn't caught on yet. I wish more folks would realize that you need to just listen to your engineers, listen to the specs that the streaming companies they've publicized what levels they want these things at, and as long as you play within those rules, you're gonna have a big, beautiful sounding master.
Perfect. Thank you. Deal. All right. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, what is one of those common mistakes or problems you constantly get in the mixes that you wish the mixing engineer knows that takes it forward?
Okay, so common mistakes, common things that I have to ask for new mixes and things like that. It used to be a lot of distortion. It used to be like mixes that were just way too hot or way too quiet, things that were just completely off the mark, where they clearly didn't understand the gain staging. Luckily, these days I'm lucky to be working with higher level mixing engineers that know how loud something is supposed to be. But I will say that one of the most annoying things that I've been dealing with lately in the last couple of years is mixing engineers that haven't approved the most final mix with the artist. So I will get a record into master, and then the mixing engineer will say, "Oh shoot, the artist wanted another change, and here's a new mix, and here's a new mix, and here's a new mix." So I know a lot of mastering engineers deal with this all the time, but it seems weirdly to happen a lot lately, where the final mix is not actually the final mix, and so that's something that's a little bit frustrating, because my work is mostly hybrid, so I do use some plugins and some digital processing on masters, but for the most